Hello, everyone, and today we're looking at Signalis. Wow, I am very, very impressed with this game. You know, it's kind of funny that the whole genre of survival horror is very much based on limits and kind of the restrictions of the technology at the time. I mean, even things like Silent Hill, you had draw distance, but in the more so in the vein of Resident Evil and sort of space opera anime, and also Ghost in the Shell, I think. I don't know. There's a lot of really interesting themes here in this game that does everything right. And as a survival horror game, as an indie game, it really works. Because again, it doesn't need to be super fancy or amazing. It just needs to have the right vibe. And this game covers a whole bunch of different areas and sectors, from gameplay and story of other games and classic stories. There's a bit of Evangelion in here as well, and it all comes together into this really good package. So it's one of these games where it has like encapsulated in my mind, alongside the other great survival horror games. This is one of them. And so I think actually it's made by a indie team from Germany, and so there's a lot of kind of not so much like more so like World War II kind of German aesthetics, specifically kind of the East German communist kind of imagery is kind of prevalent in this game. It's from that kind of culture and sort of this oppressive state. And then there's also the other aspect of, there's these colony kind of planets, and things go very wrong. And honestly, the story in this game is kind of topsy-turvy. And from what I think happens, you play as an android that has had its consciousness transferred into it from another android that basically was on this, was like the same model or something on this planet, like a long time ago. And so you're being confused with one character that you're trying to find with the other character, the other kind of girl the other character was trying to find. And so it really gets all topsy-turvy and very twisty with the actual meaning of the story. You probably need to watch a YouTube video to fully get what they're going for, but regardless if you get it or not, it's a really great vibe. And so again, it's kind of like definitely space futuristic style, not exactly something kind of like Dead Space. I think what really makes this game feel alive is what people have unironically called the garbage can music, because that's exactly what it sounds like. And so you are trapped on this colony, on the space station, and you essentially just need to survive, find notes, and fight enemies. So again, the combat is not super complicated. You have a pistol, shotgun, rifle, and a couple other weapons you get along your journey that you just aim and shoot, very similar to Resident Evil. And of course, there are very, very good / decent puzzles throughout this game that definitely remind me of maybe kind of Resident Evil, Silent Hill kind of style, and some of them are really, really trippy. In fact, there's this one about paraphernalia or something, which is that and this room is telling you about paraphernalia that you can see, in meaning in symbols and patterns. And it's this kind of, schizo thing where, you can read the newspaper, but if you look at it, all the side columns are all the capitalized letters that actually spell out a secret, message. So I thought, okay, whatever. Well, I'm stuck on this puzzle. Turns out I actually had to stare at one of the objects in the environment and realize there's actually a pattern hidden in that object. That was actually really freaking cool, because like you had to use the lore in the room to actually realize, oh wait, I'm supposed to actually do that. Signalis is absolutely amazing, from its presentation to its sound design, which of course is always very important in horror games. It's done really, really well. I love the interface, the map, the way you save. You have this little red TV that blows up, very similar to Silent Hill, frankly, but I really do like it. The one little nice touch that kind of sticks in my mind is every time you bring up your main menu, you hear the sound of a computer fan kind of blaring, implying that like when Elster in real life is actually looking at her main menu, it actually is like a real mini computer that is kind of powering up, and it's just so cool to hear that little fan sound in the background, of this facility full of things that wants to kill you. There's also some very cool visual effects and little puzzles that involve radio frequencies. So this is really, I really like this actually, because it feels like a combination of Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill, where yes, you do have this codec call thing, but you also, to talk to other, allies or whatever, but you also use it to like, mess around with certain enemies because they'll display their frequency on the screen, and so you need to tune into that frequency to essentially defeat certain enemies or go through certain areas. So it's not just a coda call thing, it's actually used in kind of puzzle solving / combat, which again I thought was super cool. The aesthetic style of Signalis is also very, very cool. It's kind of like this, what would you call it? Like a low poly, again, very much like, the first Silent Hill style. And again, there's a lot of things in here that are very artistic, up interpretation. The whole kind of vibe is more so Silent Hill, even though the gameplay is more like Resident Evil. And so basically, yeah, you just go through the facility, seeing the story. As I said, there's a lot of cutscenes and references to other things like Ghost in the Shell, Evangelion, lots of things like that. The one thing I was very shocked or surprised to see is there were a lot of references to a specific piece of literature called The King in Yellow by Robert Chalmers. And I was so intrigued by this game, I decided to actually go read it. And the book itself isn't great or anything. It's like, oh yeah, okay, they're possessed or whatever. But yeah, I really like how they interpreted that book in this game, and how the book is literally a physical thing in the world. Like, so they were obviously very, very inspired by it. Again, you have the classic kind of gameplay where you have limited resources, limited ammo, limited health packets, and a limited inventory. Honestly, your biggest boss in this game is going to be your inventory management, because you just have so few slots that you're always constantly managing things, running back to the safe room, putting things in your safe, etc., and things like that. And I think they actually fixed it, or did an update to the game that patched it, where you can play a different mode where it allows you to have unlimited inventory space or something, which I guess is nice, but it does, kind of take away from the difficulty of the game itself. Also, like Resident Evil, you can definitely shoot enemies, they will fall down, and then what you have to do is you also go over to them and stomp on them, similar to Dead Space essentially. There are no kerosene things involved, but there is that mechanic, because if you don't beat them while they're down, they could essentially resurrect and come back. Again, I love how this game looks. I love its artistic style. Another kind of theme that revolves around the aesthetic and the lore of the game is it deals with things like number stations. So the whole point of Signalis is that the signal going out from the station is also, I think, infecting people or something. And so that signal and that frequency is kind of, part of the lore, and is a series of numbers that is essentially sending some code out that, when listened to, makes no sense, but on your subconscious, it'll scramble your psyche or something like that. Another big theme in this game that I referenced was a series of paintings by, I think it was a German artist. And it was just interesting how essentially these paintings were of either not alien, but different kinds of landscapes that don't exist, or this one landscape called the Island of Death, where essentially this German painter did a series of paintings over the course of his life, with each one kind of showing a different mode or theme of life from childhood to death. And so the Island of Death, it keeps showing up as an actual painting or imagery throughout the game as this place that is kind of like the final destination. So yeah, this game has, it's really, really cool. It's a lot of fun, great themes, great visuals, a lot of allusions to classic anime and also actual classic-ish kind of literature and art. And it all comes together in this really nice package that is highly abstract, but also very grounded. Pretty much everyone who's played this game has had a positive experience with it. And yeah. Another thing that's interesting to note is that each character in those games, because there are other characters, but similar to like Resident Evil, they don't live very long, or they're kind of very briefly seen and talked about. Essentially, each one is a different model defined by 4 letters. And so each one kind of has their own personality. There's kind of like, the big chunky one, the small petite one, that's kind of like, about, doing tech-based tasks and things like that. And so you kind of get used to each one having its own kind of personality. Yeah, no, I really love this game. The music, the soundtrack, the ambience is super, super distinct. And it just blows me away that this was made by like an indie team of like, I think a couple people or something. Yeah, really impressive. Very happy I played it and can't recommend it enough. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Bye.